And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Polizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Hello, my friends. This is Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 292 of This Old Marketing, recorded on Thursday, October 7th, 2021. And with me, as always, my good friend, my colleague, and the only guy I know who can win Squid Game, Mr. Joe Polizzi. How are you?
Have you watched it?
I have been watching it.
You've watched the whole thing?
No, I have not watched the whole thing. I have not, so don't spoil. No spoiler.
No. I haven't watched it. Everyone that I know has watched it, but I have not watched it outside of the trailer. So I sort of know the deal about the premise and how they get into the Squid Game, but I don't know anything else. I'm just fascinated by how it's become pretty much the number one series of all time on Netflix, right? Or pretty close to that.
Yeah. And interestingly, I don't think it's because of mostly U.S. audiences. It's extraordinarily popular around the world, but I think it's only now starting to get really discovered here in the U.S. And I'm on episode 3, so yeah. And I don't even know how many there are, so I don't know how far I am into it, but it's intense. It's an intense show, I'll say that.
Well, I hear the ratings are tremendous with Underwater Life. I think that's where they're getting most
there it is,
of the viewership.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Who live in a shell under the sea, yeah? Is that what they say? Yeah, a little SpongeBob.
Under the sea.
Yeah. No, a little SpongeBob reference, not Disney.
I know.
Yeah.
See, you went SpongeBob, I went Disney.
That's right.
That's a really good
I am way cooler. I just want you to know that the audience right now is going, yeah, SpongeBob is the right reference there, not Disney.
You're probably the pineapple under the sea. You're probably correct. I don't think I want to start watching it because I think I'll get hooked. And outside of Ted Lasso,
your wife will not like it. I will tell you that it's ultra violent. It's ultra violent. Yeah.
Is it like John Wick violent or more?
It is John Wick violent. Yes.
Yeah. But regardless of that, I don't want to spend time on it because as soon as I watch that first one, I'm gonna have to watch the whole thing, and I have my series, Ted Lasso. As people are listening to this, the final episode will be on. I'm going to watch that. And now I have no shows that take up any of my time and soak up my productivity. So I need to be doing great things, and I can't do that watching Squid Game.
Yes.
Don't you feel like that sometime though?
No, I don't. I absolutely cherish my. Now I don't watch a lot of TV. I will tell you that. My wife will, tell you that I don't. I too have 1 or 2 shows ever going at one time, and I miss a lot, right? So I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do, I enjoy a good TikTok video every now and again. I enjoy YouTube. I enjoy reading. So I'm not a real big TV aficionado anymore, but yeah, no, I definitely have to step away from the computers and the productivity and the stuff like that and I had to. I just literally had to. I mean, you can work yourself into a corner, and it's just very hard. So I think you gotta respect that downtime.
I'm with you on the downtime, but if I'm doing downtime at all, like if my wife and I want to watch a movie, I'll watch a movie. And we'll go through Netflix or HBO Max or whatever it is.
Yep.
But if it has episodes, I'm out because I can commit to 1 hour and 37 minutes or 1 hour and 45. By the way,
well, that's a great point.
By the way, we look at the times in our house because if it's more than an hour and 45 minutes, she won't do it. She's like, I'm out.
That's interesting.
Unless it's
like a superhero movie or something like that, right?
Unless it's like James Bond or Roy Kent starring in something. She'll watch that for 12 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just, and I'm the same way. I'm like, okay, well, the episode thing. Now I have my exceptions. Ted Lasso. When Stranger Things comes back, I'm in all the way. because I love that show so much. But
well, it's an interesting point because I think a lot of what you're seeing now with series should be movies, right? In other words, I think there are a lot of things that are getting conceived as that would be great as 2-hour movies and aren't as great as 5-hour or 6-hour series. There's just not enough arc and material there, right? So you get a lot of this where the first episode is great, the second episode's okay, third, fourth, and fifth are like whatever, and then you could literally skip to like 6 and 7 and be done with the show, right? I mean, so it could have been a movie, right? It's sort of like, so many business books these days should have been an email. It's like it really gets to, is there enough material there for a 8-episode arc?
We talked about that with Ted Lasso. The beard episode was the episode they weren't planning on doing because they're like, oh, we have to have 12 episodes now because they're paying for it. So we've got to throw in some stupid episode that doesn't mean anything, that doesn't progress the show's story at all. Done.
But in a weird way, it's sort of like...
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, all right. I don't know.
By the way, we should mention that you and I had a very, we did the wrap-up show, but we really didn't talk about, now we're a week later from Content Marketing World.
Yeah.
And we're, back to our regular
scheduled programming,
scheduling and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, it was great seeing you.
Oh, it was so much fun.
We had such a great time. You were great on stage as usual.
Thank you, mister.
And I cherished every one of my 20 minutes on stage. No animosity, really. I like the 20-minute.
It is. It's a good format. It's a good format.
20-minute keynote because you really have to focus on whatever you're great. Like you do a really good job. You'll tell like the long form story, and there'll be a lot of learnings in it. I'm always, how I teach. I'm like, here's 10 things.
Right.
Boom,
exactly.
boom, boom.
Right.
And because it's funny because I just submitted for a 25-minute presentation that I'm supposed to do in November, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's 25 minutes and a 5-minute Q&A, whatever. 5-minute Q&A, come on.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. But anyways, 25 minutes, and I submitted my slides. 93 slides. And they got back to me, they're like, you know this is 25 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, this is probably 20-minute presentation if I got 93 slides. So a lot of people don't present that way. I just really... move.
Yeah, well, you bang through those things, right? You've got the great, you basically have an image. You use slides like punchlines, right? It's and so it's like ba-doom, 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 ba-doom.
And you sit on one for a while. Like, well, for example, at Content Marketing World's opening, you didn't have any slides.
I didn't have any slides.
Which I thought was great because you made the decision to say, I'm going to present with no slides so everyone looks at beautiful me the entire time. And it takes a lot of commitment to go all the way like that.
Oh, there we go. There.
No, it's a compliment. I'm making a compliment. I'm making a compliment.
Yeah, I'm looking at the back of your hand of that compliment, but yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
But anyways, the best news of the week is that your Cowboys are 3-1 and my Browns are 3-1.
It's a hot time for both teams. I mean, we're feeling pretty good. I mean, I got to be honest. It's feeling good right about now.
Oh, and I gotta hand you some credit because you told me to take Dak Prescott as my quarterback in fantasy.
Oh yeah,
and I did.
Yeah, he's crushing it.
And he saved my week this week with his 4 touchdowns. So yeah. I'm totally in love with Dak, and I'm just glad that he's back.
Yeah. And my fantasy team, on the other hand, is in a complete pile of dumpster fire. Yeah, it's all my receivers went down. Gronkowski's down. So I'm like trying to trade. I'm trying to put guys on IR. It's a mess.
Well, I mean, I thought it was an interesting strategy you had to pick basically anyone over 35 years old. They were going to start on your fantasy team. A lot of people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But you're like,
there's the back of that hand again. There's the back of that hand again. I'm enjoying that this episode.
But you haven't played fantasy in
I have not. This is my first time. I'm learning a lot, right? Like, I didn't know, and, for all of you who play fantasy football out there, you're going to go, oh, you dumbass. I didn't realize, of course, I didn't read through all the rule books that they come, that they link to, of course, that you could actually put a whole slew of guys on IR and keep them on your team. So when one of my receivers went on,
sometimes you can do that if the rules are set up that way. Yes,
right. So one of my guys, of course, went on IR, and of course I can't play them. So I dropped him and got a new receiver.
Oh,
and then of course
picked him up
and somebody picked him up and put him IR. Right. So when he comes back, it's Michael Gallup, by the way, on the Cowboys. So it's I was like, oh, I'm a dope. I'm just dopey. But yeah, so.
So you dropped Michael Gallup and then you added Fred Biletnikoff? Like, who did you add?
Yes. God, you're on fire today. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I did.
I can't. No. I was Wes
Biletnikoff
that you added.
You're aging yourself with the Biletnikoff reference.
Hey, you know what? I know my audience. That you're my audience in this perspective. I'm like, who would Robert know? Like running backs, Jim Brown.
Yeah. Walter Payton. There we go.
Walter Payton, definitely. I mean, I grew up during Walter Payton, so
yeah,
he was the best. But actually, Barry Sanders was the one that I really was like, oh my God, he's the best I've ever seen, just bouncing off people. But who
Emmitt Smith.
Emmitt Smith was great. I'll tell you what, you needed 1 yard.
Yeah,
he'd get you that 1 yard, and then watch out, he might break through that pile.
That's right.
He was fantastic. But anyways, wrapping this up.
Yeah.
I would love, oh my gosh, if there was a Browns Cowboys championship game, that would be the greatest thing ever. Although
Browns Cowboys Super Bowl, I love it. Let's do it.
There's no reason why it can't happen.
There's no reason. Everybody looks beatable. Everybody looks beatable. So
you'd have to let us win that one because you've had many Super Bowl titles in the past 30 years, and we've had 0 appearances. Anyways, what else is up?
Shall we get to the news? Because that is kind of what it is, a news show, and this is the part where,
The problem is nothing happened this week.
Oh,
nothing.
nothing really.
It was
happened.
radio
it was
silence.
So
people see all the tweets that said, Joe and Robert, what are you going to talk about this week?
I know, right? I mean, it's just, so of course we're joking, folks. The big news, huge news, and one that really was just sort of a beautifully wrapped little gift for Joe Pulizzi to put out a tweet that it was a LinkedIn post that you got like a gajillion likes on, with your rented land post.
Isn't that crazy?
It's just absolutely
just
nutty.
Recycle that stuff, and
it's
then every
so
once in a while,
it's just timing. It's all it is timing. So yes, of course,
157,000 views of that stupid thing that said,
exactly.
Do not build your content house on rented land. Boom! Yeah. Like nobody's ever heard that before.
Right. But, well, good for you for sort of thinking to do it. I didn't think to do it. Anyway, of course, what we're talking about is you couldn't have missed it. You didn't miss it. I'm sure you didn't miss it. And I can't resist to bring up an old sports analogy. Down goes Facebook. Down goes Facebook. So there's my Howard Cosell for you. And yes, of course, this week, and the article that we'll link to comes to us courtesy of NPR, but literally everybody is covering this. And the article we'll link to says why Facebook and Instagram went down for hours on Monday. When Facebook suffered an outage of 6 hours on Monday, businesses suffered along with it. The platform and its Instagram and WhatsApp siblings play key roles in commerce, with some companies relying on Facebook's network instead of their own websites. But on Monday, that network came crashing down. It wasn't a hack, Facebook said, but rather a self-inflicted problem. An update to Facebook's routers that coordinate network traffic went wrong, sending a wave of disruptions rippling through its systems. As a result, all things Facebook were effectively shut down worldwide. Why did the outage last so long? The article says the problem was made worse and its solution more elusive because the outage also whacked Facebook's own internal systems and tools that relies on it for daily operations. So Facebook built its house on rented land. So employees also reportedly faced difficulty in physically reaching the space where the routers are housed. The article goes on to talk about, a little more detail about the technology of what went on in terms of they actually mention things like gateway protocols and all those kinds of things, and that the Facebook team lost nearly a day of work, some of them calling it a snow day.
Snow day. Yeah.
So we'll also link to, just by FYI, It's not been a great week generally for Facebook. They had a whistleblower appear on 60 Minutes, and we'll link to an article in Axios which talks about all of those things combined have resulted in, I don't know that I'd call it a plummet or a tank, but it's the stock did go markedly down a little bit. So, the headlines sort of spell out like the stock market tanked for Facebook. No, it went from basically $350 a share to $326 a share. So if you call that a tank, I'm not sure what. But anyway, what do you think? What is your take on all of this, Mr. Polizzi, with your viral tweet?
Shooting fish in a barrel on that one. That was kind of fun. Look, it's I think there's more to talk about the future of Facebook coming up on many more episodes, because they have some, I think, long-term issues that they have to figure out. They're getting eaten up by TikTok and Snap. The younger audiences are not on Facebook. Now, that said, Facebook is doing a wonderful job monetizing the older population of the world. And if you look at that, basically the Facebook stock, even with that dip, it's outperforming the S&P over the year. It's doing, if you are owner of Facebook stock, you are very, very happy, even with all this happening. I think the issue
buy the dip.
Yeah, exactly. If you believe in Facebook long term, they do have some issues, but they're still an amazing company. And anyone who advertises on or sells products on Facebook will tell you. And that's what happened. My recommendation is, and we talk about, we always bring up, do not build your content house on rented land, but you have to make sure, if you have, let's say in this case for our audience listening to this, if you're a marketer and you have a big footprint on Facebook, you need to have a plan B. It doesn't mean you can't be on Facebook or shouldn't be on Facebook when we say rented land. We're basically saying use social media, whatever makes sense with your overall marketing goals. And if you're a content creator, if you're building an audience there, that's great. But at the end of the day, you have no control over it. You have no control over the algorithm, the decisions, whether it's up or down or whatever the case is, whatever Zuckerberg decides to do, whether they're getting involved in evil, as has been discussed in government this week. So I think you just make sure you prepare that secondary strategy. And that's why I love an event like this, not for what it did to all the businesses, but I love it as a reminder of people who they're building their businesses. And this is one area that is just like, oh my God, I've got a cavity over here and I've got to do something about it, because at the end of the day, there's no asset there. I have no control. What am I going to do? So there, and it's great. 2 days later, everybody's back to normal. Everybody goes back on Facebook. We all forget about this thing happening. And then you forget about your plan B. I don't want people to forget about the plan B. I want you to have a business process set up to move that to email, to an own membership site, to more focus on your website, whatever the case is. I don't know. What's your take with the whole thing?
Well, I think I agree with you, of course. What was interesting to me were two aspects of this. One were not the advertisers. A 6-hour gap in your advertising spend is not going to hit anybody particularly hard. Certainly not the big brands that are utilizing Facebook. It was a bummer, and I'm sure a minuscule revenue hit for their if any revenue hit, quite frankly, for the advertising. My feelings go out for, and concern, to your point on rented land, go out to those who have built their entire e-commerce platform on Facebook.
That's right.
And the really more interesting thing to me is the inability for Facebook itself to fix its own problem. That is a lesson that we can learn, right? Which is, in other words, the interesting thing, the challenge, then they mentioned this in the NPR article, which is Facebook's internal systems went down as well because they're built on Facebook. And so things like WhatsApp messaging, right? Or Instagram, great advertisers, but more importantly, the Facebook sort of infrastructure. And let's not forget that there are, I don't know, there's not many, but there are a few that use Facebook's version of Slack or, internal, messaging system for their corporate messaging system, right? That would have gone down too. And Facebook couldn't get into its own infrastructure because it relies so much on its own infrastructure in order to perform things. As a stockholder, that, or as a business manager, that's the thing that would concern me. Like, I wouldn't, like, who cares that the service was down for 6 hours? That's not a big deal. The more concerning thing is that their infrastructure was down for 6 hours and they couldn't do any work.
You're talking about redundant systems. They need
correct. Well, or systems that don't, I mean, there's this sort of business sort of jargon, sort of overly jargon, about eating your own dog food or drinking your own champagne or whatever it is, which is use your own tools, right? And this is not, this does not go, unobserved in the worlds that we live in either, with big organizations that sort of utilize other tools to do the things they need to do. There are giant CRM, email marketing, all sorts of companies that use competitive tools to do things like content management or email marketing or those kinds of things, because their own tools, quite frankly, they don't want, they either haven't deployed them for themselves, or quite frankly, they don't know how, right? Which is an interesting challenge, and it's always kind of fun when you learn that, right? When that giant corporation that sells the very thing that you're, looking at putting for your customers, they don't even use it, right? They don't even use their own tools. And so a lot of companies will start to use their own tools so that they don't get caught up in the flack of that. For Facebook, I'm sure that they have sort of this, internal, I don't know the word, probably pride, let's use that word, in using their own tools to give their managers access. The lesson for me, for the business managers out there, and we actually saw this during COVID, where a number of our clients, when we were talking to them, hadn't built in the resiliency to let people access those systems from outside the corporate campus. So things like their website management, their email marketing, their CRM system, their internal tools for HR, all these tools were not, they're all locked down, right? They're all locked down in this sort of very proprietary way to only be accessed from internally in the office. And so when we went to lockdown work from home mode, they couldn't do their work. Mm-hmm. And so it's the sort of opposite of what we're seeing here with Facebook. But the interesting thing to me here is that, right? How are we getting, as a small business or as a medium-sized business or even as an enterprise business, how are we looking when it comes to a great swath of the internet going down, or great, because there have been times when Amazon Web Services goes down, the internet goes down, yeah. Right? And it's just sort of, there was a wonderful article I read during this week, I'll try and find the link for the show notes, which was basically, it shows how delicate the internet actually is to our normal business. And so thinking about those things is it's not just the rented land piece, but it's how we actually do our business as well.
I was shocked with I forgot about, we look at it from our own lenses, and I was thinking about, all the marketers and all the business owners that are building an audience and communicating with customers. I forgot about the billion customers that basically sell all their products and services through Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
Geez.
So many.
It's
many.
Scary. You forget that they are bigger than eBay, the amount of business that changes hands on Facebook. And I don't think about it because you don't think of them as a marketplace. You don't think of that there's that kind of direct selling going on, but there is. It's just sort of nuts. What do you think about the whole...
And the payment, and I was just going to say quickly to add on to that, the payment thing, right? So people also forget, because we don't do a lot of it here in the U.S., but WhatsApp is a payment. It's very much like a WeChat thing as well, right? Where you can actually pay people through WhatsApp, like a Venmo.
And in Europe, that's how you communicate with people.
That's right.
When I've been over there, they're like, forget everything else. They don't text.
They don't have text messaging, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then take it the other step where you have some countries that when you say the internet, that's Facebook.
Exactly.
Like they just go directly into Facebook, and Facebook has done a great job by making that happen. What do you think about the whole whistleblower thing? Is there any takeaways? Is it? I mean, I just thought these weren't things that we didn't already know or talk about on this podcast, but it's just more of the.
You know what I think? So, maybe my tinfoil hat is a little too tight right now. But here's what I think. I actually think, and I know this is way out there, I actually think they did this on purpose, or at least didn't stop it on purpose. And here's what I mean by that. In order, because what kind of went under the radar was, not really. There was a couple of stories on it. We almost covered it on the show, but then we sort of just didn't do it for time, which was this effort about a month ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, where Facebook came out publicly and said, yes, we are actually weighting articles about Facebook and all the efforts we're doing to blah, blah, blah more heavily, right? So in other words, there's a concerted effort by Facebook to get good PR out into the world about all the wonderful things that Facebook is doing. And of course, the internet went, oh my God, that's crazy. Stop that. That's ridiculous. Hold on, wait a minute. What's going on? And then it sort of died down. This, of course, made it die down completely because now you've got a whistleblower talking about the tinfoil hat guy in me goes, if you're going to fight something, you need something to fight. In other words, if you need something to, if you want to sort of bring up an issue and talk about all the things that you're doing, you need sort of a playing field to play on. And this provides them a pretty good playing field to start to fight. In other words, they're not fighting some weird, vaporous, sort of issue. This person brings up issue, and they can go, great, here's what we're going to do on this. Here's what we're going to do on that. And now all of a sudden they can demonstrate concrete evidence, which of course gets news play now that the whistleblower has come out. So in other words, it doesn't look like Facebook just gaslighting us. It actually looks like them taking concrete steps to respond to this quote-unquote whistleblower. Part of me goes, this is just a brilliantly engineered PR campaign.
Wow, you're really taking it to the next level there.
I am. I understand that.
So you're talking. You're based. This is the movie Vice. This is Cheney. This is the whole war in Iraq, where there was no enemy. They didn't know where Al Qaeda was. Like where do we fight? Is it Afghanistan? We don't know. So they basically said we have to have it be a country.
Yes.
This is whether or not you believe the story or not, it's the movie Vice. It's about Vice President Cheney working with Bush, and they go to war against Iraq, and they make up the weapons of mass destruction thing. So that's the whole movie part. That's what you're saying. They said the same thing. They said, we have to create an enemy to fight, so it's going to be Saddam Hussein. You're saying the same thing's going on here at Facebook.
Yes. And I wouldn't... So the only difference is that I wouldn't call it a fight. I would say... so the calculus goes a little like this, right? They go, okay, if we come out and say we're going to respond to this, we're going to respond to that, we're going to respond to this, without any sort of backstop or pressure, the world goes, yeah, but that's not enough. But that's not enough. That's not enough, right? That's not enough. You know what I mean? There's sort of no solid ground for them to stand on with a position on any one issue, right? Whether it be privacy, whether it be too many ads, whether it be the optimized algorithm for misinformation, whatever it is. What the whistleblower does is creates a bill of materials, right? A bill of materials that we can respond to and actually provide a counter argument for. In other words, we can say, great, here the whistleblower brought up everything, right? Oh, this person, wow, they really got us. Oh, gee willikers, right? Let's here's the list of things that they said. Okay, well, here's how we're responding to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to make these proactive things so that you don't regulate us, or so that you regulate us in the way that we'd like to be regulated, or whatever. And the world goes, oh, the whistleblower brought it up. They reacted. They said they were going to make changes, and the world is all good again. And so that's my theory.
Okay, you want to take this another step. So let's say that you're right, partially with this idea that they want this to go. What if they respond to this? So a big thing in this whole thing is basically the negative in Instagram and Facebook to kids. And they talk about that Facebook knows about this, the increase in suicides, those things. And they're like, they don't do anything. They just look at the algorithm. They look at the analytics, and they want to increase the analytics. They want better numbers. Great. We don't care who we destroy in the meantime. That's what the whole article is talking about. What if they want this to get out there? They say, yeah, there's some truth to this, but it's not us for the most part. The majority of kids are on Snap and TikTok. That's where your problem is. Sure, there's some of it, and we're going to address it. But the big issue are on those channels. So that's where, so maybe they're using this to say, let's point the spotlight on us. We're going to start to fix this thing, and we will come out as the heroes taking a progressive stance on it, while the real problem is with their main competition right now, those two companies.
I wouldn't disagree with that one bit. I think that's a perfectly viable sort of correlated stragy, right?
As we're
sort
going
of like,
down the conspiracy rabbit hole.
Yeah, right. I mean, we'll turn into Joe Rogan soon enough. But I think it's, I look, to me, it makes perfect sense. And what makes the most sense for me on this is that from my reading, and maybe people will show me different, but from my reading, Facebook isn't reacting to the whistleblower going, she's wrong, she's absolutely mistaken, these things are not true, she's a liar. They're not sort of, pushing on her. They're pushing on like, yes, we're working on it. We're working on it. Of course, these are internal issues that we're bringing up. And of course, they're internal memos. And, while we disagree that it should be made public, we're working on them very hard, right? They're basically, they're teeing themselves up to say, sorry, it's taking so long, but we're working on it.
Okay. We want another movie reference? I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
Patriot Games?
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. When Harrison Ford character goes in to consult with the president, and I guess one of the president's best
don't bark at me like a junkyard dog.
Yeah, exactly. So the friend got in trouble for all this cocaine stuff, and then the president's advisors were saying, "Oh no, distance yourself as much as you can." And Harrison Ford said, "No, say you were best friends. Right. You were the greatest friends in the world, so they have nowhere to go."
That's right.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So the reporters will say, "Oh no, Facebook's doing it about." They understand it's a problem.
Absolutely.
This show is crazy. This current podcast is really crazy talk.
Yeah.
So it's so funny. So here's another. This is what I took a step back from all this Facebook stuff, and I looked at it, and all I kept thinking of was Great Benefits Insurance. That's what I think of with Facebook. Great Benefits Insurance from the Rainmaker, the book and the movie.
Yep.
Great Benefits basically is this evil insurance company, and they do whatever they can to maximize profits. And that's how I feel about Facebook. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Zuckerberg's the nicest person in the world, but they do seem relentless.
You're not wrong. Yeah, you're definitely not wrong.
They seem relentless that they want better numbers, better revenue, that they want world domination, and they will do whatever it takes to get there, and whoever it harms in the meantime. And by the way, there are a lot of companies that do this. We're just picking on Facebook. But that's why I thought of Great Benefits Insurance, like whatever it takes to get the premium, to get the money, and you'll deny, because at the end of the day, we as users can't do anything about it.
That's right.
So,
yeah. I mean, and there's that famous sign that came out that said, you're not stuck in traffic, you are traffic. We are all Facebook, right? We are all part of the problem. And so, it's as much on us as it is them. And so for all of us that go, oh, Tom Webster wrote a great post on this on Medium today, in fact, and, basically saying the same thing. Like it's very easy for all of us to be on Facebook and go, yeah, it's somebody else's issue, right? Somebody else is misusing Facebook, and yeah, I'm not addicted to it. I'm not getting misinformation from it, but you are, right? You're not stuck in traffic. You are traffic.
It's weird. It seems a lot more people use Twitter and LinkedIn the day that Facebook went down. And
Yeah,
I have
I
actually,
am.
since this happened, a little bit more, and I saw Marcus Sheridan's post. I don't know if you saw it on LinkedIn.
I did.
It was very simple post. He said, welcome, all you new people. And he said, what I love about LinkedIn is that nobody brings up politics or religion or anything like that.
That's not true. That's not even a little
That's
bit
what he
true.
said, right?
Yeah, I know.
He
I know.
said
It's not
just
even a little bit true.
He said basically LinkedIn is just the kinder place.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. It's definitely not. It's just it's a different level of mean. It
is a different level, but it doesn't seem to be as in your face, let's say.
No,
as it is.
No, it's just different.
Facebook.
It's just yes, there are less politics, but there's a lot more spam, right? You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot more trying to sell me stuff that I don't need in the world. And yes, there are less politics. So I enjoy it for that. I enjoy it for the less politics and certainly the less, COVID misinformation. But I certainly, there's certainly enough sort of, hey, I need link building, things. And hey, can I sell you some other software you don't need? And hey, can I also sell you real estate that you don't need? And oh, I also have coaching services available for, blah, 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 blah. It's just a different kind of, just different, different content,
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, in this week, I've sent out a couple times, the subscriber hierarchy we talk about, where we have Facebook at the bottom and we have email subscribers at the top. And somebody said, well, why is Twitter ranked higher than Facebook? And you bring this up right now, where I can't control Facebook's algorithm no matter what I do. They are going to show me where they can make the most money off of me, and whatever they think is going to keep me on that platform as long as possible. With Twitter, at least I can customize my view. And I've been able to do that. It's taken a while, where I just follow the people that I want to follow, or I can follow the certain hashtags, and I don't have to look at just the stream, whatever that is. I don't even know what a stream is on Twitter, because everyone has their as a different one. But that's what I like, is that you have more control as a user over the algorithm than you do on Facebook and LinkedIn to that extent. So, Well, it's still rented land, but
yes, indeed.
But I like Jack better than Zuck. I do. Even though Jack,
generally speaking, as people go in the world,
even though he's a part-timer,
and
he focuses more time on Stripe.
Square.
Thank you. Stripe.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
A few $1 billion.
A few billion, like $50 billion.
Yeah.
$50 billion.
Yeah, well, certainly we'll talk about some real money at some point. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, good.
Speaking of real money, we should probably move to our next story here.
Maybe.
And so interesting one, sort of on the flip side of what we were just talking about. And by the way, huge hat tip here on Twitter to Alex Chambers, who's at Hi Alex Chambers on Twitter. Fun little username there. So hi, Alex. And the article comes to we're gonna link to an article that comes from Eater.com. Never heard of this site before, but it's covering the story that we want to cover, and it's actually registration free and not Apple News, which is another annoying thing. But anyway, the article's headline is restaurant website The Infatuation has been purchased by J.P. Morgan Chase. And the article opens up by saying the banking Goliath says the review and guide site, by the way, and it oversees Zagat, will maintain independence, but Chase credit card holders will receive special perks like curated dining experiences. The article opens up by saying, restaurant website The Infatuation states its goal as bringing you the most honest and trustworthy opinions on where to eat around the world. And now those opinions will be under the purview of J.P. Morgan Chase, which, according to the Wall Street Journal, has acquired the site along with its apps, the EatsCon Festival, that's right, and restaurant rating resource Zagat. The Infatuation purchased that Zagat guide in 2018. We've long admired The Infatuation's fresh approach to reaching people with relatable content that inspires new ways to experience life through food and drink, whether it's down the street or across the globe, said Marianne Lake, the co-CEO of Chase. We look forward to building on our complementary missions of connecting people to experiences around a shared passion for dining. She added, we anticipate our collaboration will create more ways to engage our growing base of shared customers through dining and experiences. And the article then goes on to talk a little bit more about the sort of acquisition and their desire to make it better. It's fascinating to me. I mean, once again, the words content marketing were not used, but this is a quintessentially perfect example of what we mean when we say acquire, thinking about acquiring audiences that sort of help you differentiate in the market. And we've seen this, my take on this anyway, is that we've started to really see this in financial services. In fact, did a webinar on it recently about how financial services are starting to use way different things than financial literacy and other kinds of, buy low, sell high types of content in order to differentiate their services, right? So, whether it's, looking at different kinds of consumer experiences, like concerts and music and all those kinds of things, to this, which seems just a perfect match here, which is giving users a differentiated reason to sign up for Chase credit cards, which is now you get this wonderful experience of Zagat and that comes along with it. It's a beautiful content marketing example. What do you think?
I think it's so funny. This is what third paragraph. As the Wall Street Journal notes, banks don't usually buy media companies. I wish Wall Street Journal, they don't, but I wish Wall Street Journal would say, this is a trend that we're seeing with large brands starting to buy media companies over and over. In the industry of content marketing, the blah, we should see this stuff, but it's still, again, everything's like a brand new thing that we've never seen before. I think it's beautiful. I think what they've done is create an exclusive content experience, or that's what they're going to create. I think the mix and match of, people that go out, they probably already had the data. People that already go out to eat a lot are using Zagat, and they're using services like that, and they're getting more information about where they want to eat. I mean, this is a phenomenal program. We're going to see more and more of this, and it probably was a rounding error in the amount that it cost Chase to buy this.
This is a rounding error in their marketing budget, not just a rounding error in revenue or anything like that. This is, this was done. Probably, forgive the pun, it was probably put on their Chase credit card.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah, it's fun. That's pretty good. Buys it with their own credit card.
Yeah.
When do you think we get to the point? I'm gonna put you on the spot here. When do you think we get to the point where websites like the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times will say that somebody's got to do something because all these brands are buying media companies and it's getting out of hand?
I don't know. I mentioned this in my keynote at Content Marketing World.
No wonder that's where I got the idea from.
Yeah, it's it's inexplicable to me why there seems to be this, and as I said in the keynote, I don't really care. I care a little bit, but I don't really care if Adweek and Wall Street Journal and Ad Age and The Drum and New York Times and all these places that cover these kinds of things in some way, if they use the term content marketing. Again, I care a little bit, but I don't care that much. What I care about is that the recognition of this as something that has been going on, instead of this new weird, like just to your point, right? This new weird little experiment, the bank buying a media company. Yes, they have. Yes, they have. They have been doing this. That Chase isn't innovative here. They're late. They're late to the party of doing this. This is something that's been going on for the last 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 years. Ever since we've been doing this podcast, this has been going on. And so the trend here is, and so it's not that I'm punting on your question, because I think it's a really interesting one, but unless somebody actually starts to call them out, which I've promised the audience at Content Marketing World that I would do, and I think it's incumbent on us to do if we care about this, that I don't think it will ever happen. I don't know that it will ever happen.
Until all the brands are own all the media companies,
and then somebody will go, "Wow, look what happened over the last 5 years! Isn't that interesting? Isn't that?"
They'll say, "I had no." Yeah, they'll say, "I had no idea that Bank of America owned these 72 media companies."
Right. That's right. That's right.
It's the same. Arrow Electronics gets that all the time. We've talked about it. I had no idea that Arrow Electronics owns almost every major media company in the B2B electronics space.
They are the biggest media company in B2B electronics.
Yes.
They are.
But nobody.
That's it.
But nobody would know that unless you're in the industry.
That's right.
I mean, even in the industry, you might not know it. But
yeah, That's right. Well, and just at that point, so we were going to cover this a little later, but I think it's a great time to bring it up. There's an article this week in Adweek, right? So Adweek, the headline is, want to create a meaningful branded content? Try a journalistic approach, says Adweek. Consumers are tired of the sales pitch, says the subheadline. And I don't mean to throw this writer under the bus. She's part of the Columnist Network. I'm not sure what the Columnist Network means with Adweek, but I'm assuming a freelancer type of. So I don't know. I should, full transparency. I don't know if this is a paid placement from the Columnist Network or how that works, but I do know that she's not an Adweek
paid,
writer,
though, right? Because
I wouldn't think so.
Because it doesn't say anywhere that it's paid.
Right. It says this is part of our Columnist Network, which I think is just freelance writers that they get contributions from. I don't know because, I can't, it's very hard to discern. If you click in, you just get basically a number of articles. It doesn't actually say, the Columnist Network explores the tactical thoughts and actions from Adweek's community of high-level experts. Today, Long-Dash CEO Kate Watts shares a new approach for brands to connect authentically with consumers. Below, in her own words, she suggests ditching the conversion funnel to earn consumer loyalty. And the article, which is lovely, it's wonderful, it's great, it's well written, talks about the inverted pyramid of journalism, showing, not telling your value add, investing time for deeper loyalty, greater lifetime value, and then, of course, uses Glossier as the example here of a media company that turned into a product company. And it's like, content marketing, content marketing, content marketing, content marketing. And now I don't know whether Kate doesn't know the words content marketing or whether she doesn't care or... I don't know because I don't know Kate.
Or whether or not she submitted it to Adweek. And Adweek, I've heard, don't hold me up for this. I don't know. But I think they have
more conspiracy theories.
I think they have a find and replace. I think that when anybody puts on their content management system content marketing, it automatically changes it to branded content. I've heard these things, but I could be wrong.
Are you serious? You've really heard this? Yeah, you've heard
know.
this.
I make all this stuff up.
This is our conspiracy theory show. This is the conspiracy theory.
But how many? Okay, you could probably count the number of times that Adweek has said content marketing, and they've probably done it because of Content Marketing World or Content Marketing Institute. They haven't done it because the term is content marketing. It's always branded content or branded entertainment. Always.
That's right. It's always that. Or brand journalism is another one that they sometimes use. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's inexplicable to me, and the answer to your question is, it's very hard to predict if they'll ever come around. And again, my idea here is not to necessarily, my challenge with the idea of what was in this article from Kate is not the idea. I love the idea. I love the way she approached it. I love the way she organized her thoughts. I love the way she talked about the inverted pyramid. I love the example, of course. The thing that sort of just, is to get into a Peter Griffin, what really grinds my gears is that, the whole, that this is new and innovative and weird and change, because what it does, it perpetuates this idea that this is this thing that we can't really do if we're sort of a conservative, risk-averse business because, it's weird and new and innovative and okay for Glossier, but it's not really for us.
I have to share this because this just blew my mind. You probably already knew this. This blew my mind. I'm reading this article from Kate Watts talking about content marketing and calling it branded content. It says it's an ad for Walmart Connect. Have you seen this? Do you know this?
No, I don't know this.
So it's okay. First of all, Walmart is advertising on Adweek, and they're selling a product called Walmart Connect. So I'm clicking through, trying to figure. So Walmart is a data play where they're selling their data and their intelligence specifically for people to get more insight from Walmart customers. Countless opportunities to accelerate your growth by making meaningful connections with 150 million weekly Walmart customers. That's just so is Walmart, what business is Walmart in? It's just crazy things that everybody's, whatever you're selling, it's crazy. So Walmart's now in the marketing technology business.
Yeah. just FYI, while you were talking, I went and did a search for content marketing on Adweek's website twice in the last 2 years.
Oh, no way. It can't be that low.
It is. It's twice in the last. Now, they have another publication called Target Marketing, which, of course, we know as well.
They purchased that. That doesn't
Yes, exactly. Which, of course, comes up in search results. But twice on the Adweek site, the words content marketing, ready for the punchline? Both of those times were new job titles. In other words, people getting hired into content marketing positions. One is somebody who got hired as the VP of content marketing at Disney, and somebody else. And so it's like, wow, ba-da-bum-ba-da, boo.
Okay. It's like, oh my God. I know we probably need to get on with the podcast. Yeah. But that just blows my mind. Like, we really should do something. I want to know. I want to know why they're banned from using the term content marketing.
I don't know. They just, it's fantastic.
Wow.
It's fantastic. I'm taking the action item. I'm taking the action item in our meeting. I stand.
Okay, what you need to do is send out a tweet a day, and every day send it to Adweek.
Right,
at Adweek, why don't you use?
I challenge you to use the words content marketing. I challenge you to do better, said Captain Pike to Captain Kirk.
Oh, I know. There's gonna be a new article that is to the captain or the content marketing idiots on P&R. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So they'll say it in a derogatory fashion.
Yeah.
Targeting us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's fine. Throw me under the bus. Let's do it.
I don't care. What if they're Adweek? It's not even relevant anymore. It's Adweek.
I know. It should be Content Week or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I don't mind. Adweek. They have PR. It's all the same. I mean, Adweek is by PR Week. They're all the same, right? No. Are all the weeks owned by the same company?
I can't remember. Yeah, I think so. I think that's true.
Search Week.
That's true.
Direct Week. I don't know. What else do we have? I mean, there's got SEO Week.
Yeah.
Week.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, week. It is time for your favorite and empirically proven favorite part of the show, which is, of course, our rants and raves section when Joe and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave over something that has us feeling like we got covered in Adweek or something that makes us feel like we're in the middle of Squid Game. And so, you want to go first?
Yeah,
you want me to go first?
I'll go first. Just a quick shout out. This was shared on the Tilts Discord channel by Ashley Stryker, and I'm a big fan of Matthew Patrick. As you know, MatPat, as he goes by on YouTube, was a speaker. I think, was that Content Marketing World 13? Do you remember? It's 13 or 14.
Which one?
MatPat was a speaker, and he was on the cover of Chief Content Officer
I'm pretty
magazine.
Sure it was 13.
Something
I
like
think it was 13. Yeah.
So basically, how I came to found him is my kids were watching him on YouTube. He had a show called Game Theory, and it basically funny. He talked about conspiracy theories behind games. So you talk about the different like Pokemon and what if this character does this or whatever. It was just crazy. Well, he's built a YouTube empire. Game Theory, Food Theory. Game Theorist right now has 14.5 million subscribers. What I love about him is he said he purposely didn't monetize that platform until he got to 1 million subscribers. And so he waited, and now he consults with YouTube and some of the biggest companies in the world. But what I love about this latest one so he produced this is called Game Theory, The End of an Era. We'll put it in the show notes. This is one that he produced on September 26, 2021. So 2 things. First off, if you want to see how an amazing video is shot on YouTube, you need to watch this video. They spend about 100 hours a week producing their videos. It's some of the best production value for YouTube that you will see. And he's got a small team, but they're really, really amazing with what they do. So if you want to just see...
Oh, I totally want to see that.
So how do you do that? He does a great job of it. But the content for this one, so it's 25 minutes long, is this YouTube video, which is funny because he talks about this in the video and how long YouTube... These are like YouTube videos today, they go on for hours now. Like if you watch a Mr. Beast video, it's like it literally goes on for hours. They're like long podcasts. But I love the insight to this because he was talking about YouTube as the grown-up platform. I didn't realize all the bans that Google, has put in on content. And he goes through all of them. And he's made it he basically said they've made all these changes so they could clean it up so that they could go after the big advertising dollars, so that the advertisers would feel comfortable advertising on the platform. So it used to think of, YouTubers and, if they're filming in their basement, whatever. He said it is all changed and all become corporate. And he goes through the process of what a YouTuber has to go through to sell advertising on YouTube. And it's fascinating, the whole process. He's gone through the whole thing, and he goes through, basically he's been on YouTube for more than 10 years now. And so goes through that whole thing. And any marketer who does anything with YouTube really needs to watch this, because he goes through the process. And he also says, for another conspiracy theory, but this is what's happening, what TikTokers are doing and Twitch streamers, they're building some of their audience on those platforms, but since they can't monetize those platforms that well, TikTok doesn't give anything out. It's very hard to monetize on Twitch with Amazon. So he says those companies don't care about the creators at all. YouTube pays 55% out directly to creators. And he said that is why everyone is they're building, I wouldn't say it's easy, but he says it's easier to build a following on TikTok today, and then you move that following over to YouTube, and that's where you make your money. So I just thought it was interesting. It's worth it. It's worth at least the first 20 minutes to go through. Again, this is MatPat on the Game Theorist channel, and I'll put it in the show notes, and it's definitely worth watching.
Does he still have, because one of the case studies that I loved so much that we used to talk about all the time, and I even think we talk about it in Killing Marketing, does he still have the consulting firm?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So
Game Theorists is one of his channel. He has The Food Theorist is another channel. And then he has Theorists Inc. And Theorists Inc. is the consulting. And what he does is he works directly with large influencers and with brands to help them get found and grow an audience on YouTube.
Which is
I believe, I don't know, but from just looking at his kingdom here, that's a multi-million-dollar consulting practice.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. I'm sure it is. So it's just, building his ecosystem. I just love it. It's just absolutely a great example, of what Adweek would call branded content. So let's.
That's some great branded content right there.
That's some great branded content there.
Right. What do you have for your?
I have a quick rave here, which is so I got a. This came from a couple of people actually emailed me a question, which I'm not sure why they emailed me about it necessarily, but it came from two people, so there must be something there. Playboy has put its first gay male bunny on the cover of its October issue. Now, weirdly, ironically, I guess, I've been following the Playboy brand evolution over the last year and a half, and so I don't follow it in the way that I don't subscribe or anything like that as a consumer, but I've been following what they've been doing since, we actually covered it a couple of times on the show about, they got sold. Then they stopped covering nudity full stop a few years ago, and then admitted that was a mistake. And it's been a brand and a publication that has really struggled for relevance, quite frankly, in the 21st century. And a couple of years ago, I think it was 2019, they basically rebooted everything. So just pre-pandemic, sort of early 2019, they briefly, they basically rebooted it. They're under new ownership. They hired a whole new editorial team, which are all young, really, focused people to, redo everything, redo the brand in a much more, I'll just call it woke, right? Sort of idea, but more importantly, sort of inclusive idea, right? With the idea of LGBTQ as its core. They sort of got rid of the whole men's magazine idea and made sort of, the idea of really, it was about sexual freedom, right? The sort of full stop. And this, and they started, they're keeping with the edgy editorial, which is what kind of they were known for, other than pretty naked ladies in the magazine, but they're brought back nudity in a much more interesting, I think, artistic, some might argue, certainly more inclusive way, in terms of not only the way that they created a process for creating the photographs and what they're doing, but also the way that they do editorial, the way that they do the design of the publication and everything. And this is sort of their, this is sort of the sort of culmination, I guess, of that in many ways, which is this first gay male bunny on the cover. And I want to rave about it because I think it's been, obviously COVID and 2020 sort of put a weird sort of spin on things, and watching the evolution of the brand and where it is today, it's one of the most elegant kinds of evolutions of a classic old brand. And how do you take a classic old brand that in many ways was kind of on the chopping block for a long time from a cultural perspective of saying this is no longer relevant to the world, this is no longer acceptable, this is no longer the way that we want to look at it, and really pivot it into something that is not just interesting but certainly viable from a business perspective. I just think it's, we'll link to an article from Media Post that talks about it, but there are a number of articles out there if you just Google it that talk about the history of the brand and what they've been doing over the last 18 to 24 months. And it's just a really great, to me, brand case study, because I think they're teed up now. They are set. It'll all come in the execution. I totally get that. It's totally, but the whiteboard is now clean. I think they have successfully rebranded Playboy as something that is truly something that can last another 100 years. And I just think it's just a wonderful example of that. So I wanted to rave about it.
Well, you've been looking at Playboy that way, and I've been looking at their NFT drops. They've generated.
Oh yeah, they're doing all that stuff too.
Generated
Yeah.
quite a nice business that's going on. I think they're on their third or fourth drop, NFT drop, and they're totally committed to it. And it's a whole new revenue stream. And it's
they've gone all in on the digital stuff, right? And to what you would love, they have brought back the print version as well. They're going to a quarterly now instead of a monthly. But it's a quarterly magazine that's done in very high quality paper, very high quality experience in terms of what they're doing. So, I think everything they're doing is building a great content business, a great content, and as a content creator, that's a great ecosystem that they're building from digital to print to events. Now they've sort of rebranded and brought back much of what they're doing in physical events, and how they're changing the brand of what used to be bunnies running around and sort of cocktail costumes, and now they've brought some of that back but changed them to brand ambassadors, and it's
really amazing.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
It's really just wonderful.
I've been really interested to see there, especially with that digital strategy, because I think there's a lot that content creators can learn from that adjustment.
A lot. Yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot. And what you can learn from taking a brand that was, kind of left for dead and bringing it back in a relevant way, in a really cool, open way.
Especially when I think what you're going to see in the next couple of years is some of these older print publications, they're going to come back as the new whatever. They're going to get bought out, which we've seen before. But now there's so many new revenue streams that you can have digitally that you didn't have a couple of years ago that it's really going to get fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that.
So what do you got going on the rest of the weekend?
It's here's the thing. We're finally feeling a little like fall here in Southern California. So we've got some nice, cool temperatures. I got to get outside and get some sunshine and get outside and get away from screens for a bit. And other than that, we're just we're cranking on some new client work and doing some research, and it's all good. Feeling good about fall, feeling good about football,
definitely.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird though? I feel behind all the time. Like you and I read so much stuff.
Yeah.
We try. I mean, we do this podcast. We're trying to keep up. We're on the Discord. We're doing all the things.
Yeah.
And I don't remember when we started in this 12, 13 years ago together, started doing this stuff. I don't think I felt behind all the time. No, I do. Maybe it's my age that I just can't read it. I don't know what the deal is. It's just things are moving much quicker.
There are a lot of things moving really fast here that you feel like you should be more informed about than you are, right? And so it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on in our marketplace right now because it's just change is happening so fast, and it's hard to know where to focus, right? You just have to cross things off your list, right? you're a master at this, right? Where you write down your list, and I can't remember if it's your 5 things to do or your whatever, however you approach it, but you're a master at sort of saying, this is what I'm focusing on that really needs to be done. And you just have to do it, but otherwise, but it doesn't help you not feel behind. You just feel chasing things.
It. Yeah. And I've got, man, so that's what I'm working on, a couple articles, just trying to figure out some of these new models. And it's, we'll see whenever the inspiration strikes. It'll happen, but the Browns come first.
Right, there you go.
Have to watch the game, and I have to watch Ted Lasso. So we got lots of things to do.
That'll be tonight for those of you who are listening on Friday.
Exactly. So there you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We are signing off. If you want to get all the goodness of this podcast show notes that we talked about, dive into any of the other 291 episodes, why don't you get on over to our website at ThisOldMarketing.site. We want to thank, of course, the great folks at Radix for powering our .site domain. If you want your own .site domain, get over to Radix and get your own .site domain. There are plenty of your wonderful domains available. I'm sure some of them having to do with NFTs and crypto and all that stuff too. Until we meet again next week, just remember, it is your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you soon on This Old Marketing.